Hello, good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us. You're watching Galaxy today, coming to you from Galaxy Television. My name is Justin Akadonye.
And of course, I'm Uche Onyekulije. It's Thursday, the lifestyle, but today is going to be quite different. I mean, we're looking at eroding the reading culture, and it's something that is it's something we should look at in Nigeria. It looks like our education system is gradually crumbling or has crumbled, but we pray it comes back. But this time around, reading is essential. I mean, the white man says if you want to hide anything from the black man, put it in books. Is that true, Justin?
Well, the thing is that I remember growing up and loving books, and I read a lot, which is much that can be said of me right now. As a child, my dad would just load us with lots of books, Wale Soyinka's books. I remember one novel then. I read lots of books back in the day. Yeah, but the thing is that right now, if you ask me to read anything, it's like giving me so much work. I would rather just read, maybe post on the internet, but just to sit down to read a book, my God, that's like very difficult
seriously,
right now.
Justin? Yeah. But of course, it is good to read. Reading has a way of not just, apart from the fact that we get informed and get educated through reading, apart from the fact that reading actually helps people, for those who do not know how to speak well, reading helps you to speak well. It is also a place where you can gather knowledge. And when you read well, you find yourself being confident. You'll be able to defend anything you feel you can, and even things that you feel you can't defend. But the fact that you're loaded with knowledge, you find yourself standing on a kind of platform or a pedestal trying to tell people.
I couldn't agree more. There's a whole lot of advantages that inherent in reading, and reading, not just reading, but reading the right the right books, the right articles, the right information. Get all the information that you need to get, and you'll be better, for it. We have two gentlemen with us in the studios who will be discussing this issue with us, because we need to tackle this head on. The rate at which our children, are not really making it well in school, English, mathematics, and all of that is really terrible. Most people would rather do what they call sorting, to pass examinations, and it is becoming very
it is a trend
worrisome. Yes. All right, we have an author, and we also have longest marathon read aloud record breaker. We have Bright Ukwenga, an author. Many thanks for joining us on Galaxy today.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. And of course, we also have Day Treasures Olawumi, a Guinness record holder, right?
Thank you. Okay,
I'd like to start with you. I want to know why you're called Treasures. Is it because of the books you've been reading, or is actually your name?
That's a story.
Okay.
Because my real name is Bayode Olawumi. Now in Yoruba, you look at your Olawumi means I desire wealth.
Well, your wealth.
And I looked into my family lineage. Nobody has got the wealth, and I think this time I change my name. So I added treasures. I am treasure before Olawumi. So Bayode Treasures Olawumi.
All right, fine. That's a good one. Well, let's talk about reading culture.
Yeah.
As a child. Now, let me start with you, Bayo. As a child, were you really so fascinated about reading books? Not just reading for the fun of it, not reading to pass examination.
Yeah, well, the Indians will say nei. Meaning no. Because I had no one to give me a book. My father was a carpenter. My mother was a trader. Okay. So I never grew up with books.
Okay.
But of course, I went to public school. So all we do is say play. I started reading in 1997.
Okay.
1997. Then I was around 19 years old. Yeah, 19 years old.
Okay.
I picked a book, and the book is titled How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. In 2 hours, that book changed my life. I argued a lot before then, you understand. But picking that book changed my orientation. And I thought, if this book can change me in 2 hours, then there are a lot of books out there that if I read will make me a total man. Ever since that day, I have never looked back.
Okay, so speaking about books, I mean, you must have come across gifted hands like Ben Carson.
Yeah.
They realized that books was actually what changed him and a brother.
Yeah.
And from record, we hear he's the first neurosurgeon to separate Samuel stories, as well as the brother is think the best aeronautic engineer.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so reading his story, you find out that he said the mother said, I have 2 lectures in this house and you cannot afford to the lesson, so you have to read 2 books a week. Now, still talking about reading now, knowing that the culture here is really not reading. Everybody is just, there's this fast thing that everybody wants. We just want to enter the fast. Make wealth, we want to make it fast.
Yeah.
Graduate, we want to graduate fast. No. I want to ask you, do you think that if our children are given time for reading, because I know when we were growing back in the day, we do have societies. I think on Wednesdays where you have to go to different societies, Literary and Debating Society, Press Club, and the rest. I don't know if it happens now. But do you think if we imbibe like a book club where children can read more, not just for the fun of it, but, you know, so that histories can, you know, can be taught? Do you think this would affect Nigeria as a nation if we imbibe reading as a culture?
Yes, it will. And in fact, one of the major issues we are having here as adults now who do not read is that there is a problem from the very foundation.
Okay.
Okay, and just like a friend of mine said recently, Adewolabi, he said, when you do not take responsibility early, you set up yourself for damage control in the future. And not all damages can be controlled. Yeah. Okay, so many a time, it's the problem is actually in the development of the child. When the child is not properly developed, exposed to reading on time, then it becomes a problem in the future. Yeah. But if the child can be helped from the very beginning to start cultivating that habit, it becomes a lifelong process. It becomes a lifelong, a sustainable part of his life. So what I'm saying here is that we need to give attention to the children. It's usually better to repair children than to repair men. Okay, so we have to emphasize early child development. And I mean, that brings us to the book club you talk about in secondary schools. But even before we get to the school, in primary school, even before we get to the school, the first place the child develops is in the home. Yeah. Just like you mentioned about Ben Cassin's mother, Sonia Cassin. She helped her children to read. So basically what I'm saying here is that the parents should be the first people that are involved in that child's development.
First role model.
First role models. Yep. And then sometimes the parents themselves have to develop themselves to the point where they even have the habit of reading in order to encourage their own children to read. Because at the end of the day, this child is still your child. If you send him to school, pay all the money, and he's not able to read, he's still your child. After you have paid money in the currency of Naira, you have to still give the child the currency of attention. Yeah. So give attention to the child, help him imbibe the culture of reading right from the home. Otherwise, when he gets out of school, he just believes that schoolwork is for school alone. So coming back to the house, he just feels, play is home affairs.
Because reading is wide. I think literature, and we have a bunch of syllabus in literature to
okay.
And a whole lot of us, they really find the non-African play, the non-African prose interesting, particularly William Shakespeare and Oliver Goldsmith. Okay, now if we say reading, I know that we must read, but not everything should be read.
Yes.
And I'm not saying we should streamline our reading.
Okay.
So now, as a child, let me come to you as a child, and I say I want to I want to be vast in my knowledge. How would you tell me to streamline my reading, knowing that the internet now, it could, if a child is exposed to the internet, the negative part is heavier than
you have options.
So how do we channel, how do we say, how do we help them to read positively and also streamline reading? I don't know if you understand my point.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So I think just like what he said now, after my Guinness World Record feats, I travel around the country, Africa, to talk about reading culture. And the parents often come to me, how do I encourage my child to read? Because they don't like reading. And I ask them, how often does that child sees you read? Because the parent are the first role model the child will see. So when I read, and my child, let me give you an instance. When my first child was in the womb, I read to him. From 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Now that boy will be 10 by February, this next month. He can finish 300 pages of book in just 1 day.
Interesting.
You understand? Because I made a deliberate effort. It was intentional. Do you understand? Now, talking of the books they can read, expose them to books, So as they grow up, they will pick their interest in the kind of book they want to read.
Okay.
Now, reading is not only on academical.
Yes.
You understand? Now, I read not to pass exams. You understand? But I read to develop myself as a person.
Yeah.
Communication-wise, relationship-wise, history-wise, leadership-wise, finance. There was a day I was passing by a bookstore and I saw a book, how to go through menopause, and I was like, wow. Okay, that means that if I'm a woman and approaching menopause, I read this book. The things that will come, I will know. How to tackle it, I will know. What to do to prevent the pains, and I will know.
Okay.
That is what books can do for you.
But then again, looking at books now, because some people would say they would rather read maybe things are done in soft copies than reading physical books. Does it really make any difference how or what you're reading, or how you're reading what you're reading?
Okay, well, at this point, we cannot say people should not read, we should not read ebooks or something. That is where the world is going. And as a matter of fact, in the world, in 21st century, we are not just talking about being a literate, we're talking about being a digital literate. Very crucial. So, but the problem is, when we are engaging technology, we should remember that technology is just an enabler, okay, which means that it has given us unlimited access to read as much as we can. However, there is something we must note. The distractions are there. While you're reading, Instagram notification is coming in, WhatsApp notification is coming in, Facebook is coming in, many other, notifications are coming in, whether it's on the computer, or on your phone, your mobile device, anywhere. So the most important thing is, while we are trying to, go with the digital form, the digital trend, we must shun the distraction. We must curb our appetites. Technology will not curb our appetites for us.
So as a child, how do you tell the child to not to be distracted when reading an ebook? Because as an adult, you could, to a large extent, have a self-control. But as a child, how would you tell the child to curb or try to look away from such distraction when reading? You just mentioned that when you're reading an ebook, you have Instagram pop-up, you have WhatsApp pop-up, and how do you tell a child to focus and then not to be distracted?
Well, we don't want to engage them with WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook, all of that early. We want to actually give them a device that just helps them,
like a Kindle.
a Kindle, that just helps them focus on reading. So the devices that we are actually giving to our children, we must ensure that these distractions, they are not growing up with the distractions. They are not growing up seeing the weeds. If they grow up with the weeds, if they grow up, with the weeds, seeing the distractions, they get used to it. And then it will be very difficult to curb. But once it's curbed early, start with just giving them this device, let them be able to read, have access to read alone.
Don't put games.
And
don't put games on it.
Okay,
sorry, let me quickly add to that. The honest truth is that can even adults control themselves?
Can what?
Adults control that distraction.
Yeah.
I was in a place and a pastor was talking, he was reading the Bible online, and before you know it, porn started coming into that. Before he knew, it was clicking away. Do you understand? The honest truth is that I am old school. I prefer my hard copy. Do you understand? And you get friendly, you get attached to the book. You can hug the book. You can't hug your laptop, you can't hug your phone. But I can hug my phone and say, wow, what a wonderful it has been within this book. And I can highlight. I can always come back, open where I can note. You can do it all. Okay, take for instance now, even though the ebook is now popular, but Amazon is still churning out hard copies in millions. That means that it is the Library of Congress has not been shut down. Yes. People are still spending billions to open up libraries in China.
Yes.
Do you understand? So that means that
there's a place for hard copies.
There is still a place for hard copies.
No, the hard copy is the place.
Okay, but
obviously,
you are a father. Talk us true about getting children to read, because I remember trying to teach my nephews and niece how to read, but most times they're always attracted to stuff that are very colorful, that have pictures. If you're giving them a book and there are no pictures and maybe some graphics, they'll not be excited to read those books. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, we are in artificial intelligence world.
Yeah.
I'm no more in the space world now. And this, like you said, children are attached to colors. However, this is where I train my children. First, I will show them a movie, then buy the book for them, so that they can be a connection.
Imagination.
Yes.
Yes.
When they read.
Between the book and what they have seen. You understand? So gradually, I started bringing in bigger books without pictures. As a matter of fact, they don't like animation. They don't like comics on paper. You understand? I was deliberate. Okay, for instance, I was going for an interview at WAP TV last Saturday, and my daughter, who is 8 years old, they brought some book from home, from school to read, and she does not like to read, but she can write. She can spend 10 hours writing, but we all know that writing skill is honed from reading.
Obviously.
Do you understand?
Obviously.
So I told that daughter, if you don't finish this book before we get to where we are going to, you are not eating this morning. It was tough, but I achieved my goal. Do you understand? We must be deliberate.
Okay, so but let's look at this angle of audiobooks. I mean, that's another thing that's coming up now, particularly for adults who are always busy. I mean, chasing what that's supposed to be chasing us. I don't understand, you know. And it's simply because you want to be up to date. You want to be sure that you're not out of your world, and then you introduce the audio thing.
Yeah.
Do you think it's also a very good way to increase your knowledge? Is that really good?
Yeah. Audiobooks will help you increase knowledge, obviously. While you're driving, you can be listening to something that helps you to multitask. And of course, you are exposing your mind.
But do you think would it be concentration?
Yes, that's where we're going to. However, there is something you get from reading that you would not get from listening.
What's that?
Yes, because when you're reading, it's a very highly engaging mental process.
Yes.
So you're exercising the muscles of your brain, of your mind. And so it keeps you mentally fit. Now, there are other virtues that are developed from reading or cultivated from reading. Number one, focus. Focus. How do you learn to focus? In this age of fast change and, in this age of distractions, reading helps you to focus. You learn focus from reading. Also, your attention span, okay? So you're able to concentrate on something. And when you develop focus from reading, you can apply it in many other areas. Also, reading helps you to pay attention to listening. It develops your listening ability. So you just concentrate when you're reading something. Your mind is not busy. The only business you have is to stay and read. If your mind is busy at that time, you will not get anything, even though you have actually read. So you will be like the same person that did not even read anything. So when you try as much as possible to read, you develop this ability to be patient, analyze, criticize, and then you can also apply that when you're talking to someone. Learn to just allow the person talk and you listen.
Okay. What are the other virtues? You just mentioned focus and all of that. Let me come to you, Bara, because growing up, I remember that one of the thrills I get by reading or from reading is that I'm always excited because it gives me a sense of imagination. I tend to see the picture of what I'm reading. I tend to imagine it. And again, my vocabulary was built up. I learned several new words. Sometimes I see the words I may not immediately know the meaning. Sometimes I might just get it out of context. But sometimes I go back to my dictionary. What other other advantages can be derived from reading?
Okay, now there are vast advantages, but there are two focal ones. That is your imagination capacity and your vocabulary. One thing is that in these days now, people tend to like video, short clips, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Those kills your imagination. Like you said, when you read book, now your mind does not understand word. Your mind understands pictures. You understand? When you read, when you read, your mind put
forms
into
image.
picture, image. Your imagination capacity becomes so wide that you become creative. But when you only look at the video, already you have seen the end product. You can't produce it by yourself. So you are killing a part of you, which is your mind. Now, there are sometimes I speak and I use some vocabulary, some word, and I was like, come on, where did I get this word from? Our mind is magnetic.
Yes.
When you read, your mind picks the words and it stores them somewhere. And it goes into your subconscious mind. And subconsciously, that will you be spawning out the word and you'll be wondering, okay? So it is, the place of video is good, but reading, I mean reading hard copy, holding my book, embracing my book, nothing can take the place.
Let's talking about embracing your book. All right, it's still Galaxy today. We will be taking a very quick break. Just to remind you that you can send questions to our guests here in the studio. If you have any, feel free to do so. The number to send the SMS will be displayed shortly. You can also interact with us on social media using the hashtag Galaxy Today. We still have Bright Time, Okwenga, and then Bio-Day Treasures, Allow Me with us. When we come back, we'll be talking about the feat that he achieved when he won, he broke the record, the Guinness World Record, by reading aloud. I want to learn this thing about the reading aloud, and of course, Bright will be taking us how we can move from reading to even being writers. All right, in a moment, let's take this quick break. Let's take this song by Ron T. She calls it Iwe Kiko.
I love that.
Auntie, I want to be a doctor when I grow up.
Clap for her.
Auntie, I want to be a farmer when I grow up.
Ìwé kíkọ láìsí ọkọ àti àdá kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ níṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò ṣiṣẹ́ á máa jalè. Ìwé kíkọ láìsí ọkọ àti àdá kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ níṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò ṣiṣẹ́ á máa jalè. Ìṣàpá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Ìṣàpá láìsí iyán àti ẹ̀gúsí kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iyán àtẹ̀bà ló ń jẹ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò jẹyán á jẹ̀bà tó tutù. Àwọn ọmọ aláìgbọràn wọ́n délé ìwé, wọn kò fetí sílẹ̀ sóhun tólùkọ́ kọ́ wọn. Olùkọ́ ní kó kàwé wọn sì máa ṣeré ká, wọ́n á jẹun 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 wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ roboto. Iṣẹ́ iṣẹ́ ìyẹn kì í ṣe tiwọn, eré 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 ṣáni tiwọn. Dòdò àti ráìsì kò gbọ́dọ̀ kọjá, wọ́n á jẹun 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 wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ roboto. Oh, 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 oh.
welcome back. It's still Galaxy. Today, we trust you enjoyed that song by Ranchi Iwekiko. She sort of brought back the whole classroom experience.
But
and
I want to put you on the spot
nostalgic.
now. What do you understand by that song? Iwekiko, Lai Sioko, Ati.
Yeah, that going.
What do you think she was saying?
Don't even start with me.
Oh my
You know,
God.
growing up, I don't know. I think I just molded up the entire song. I was just singing to the melody and not even understanding.
But it's
what I
quite
was
interesting. It's like he's saying education without class
Without,
and wool.
Without farming,
culture, farming, yes.
Farming is
it's not a complete education.
Okay, let's talk about the classroom experience and the teachers and the teaching process. You know, in our pre-chat, when we went on that break, I was telling you guys that I used to love reading lots of books, but when I got into secondary school, that passion and desire sort of changed because I was not really so inspired with the way the teachers presented literature. So I ended up not even writing literature at my O levels. You know, so what's the role? What's the place of teachers and teaching? You know, the subject and teaching how to read. What's the place really?
Okay, first and foremost, I must say that one of the major issues why the culture of reading is eroding is because the teachers are not actually paying attention to what they got to do. Or better still, we do not have competent
Qualified.
teachers. I remember the first time I met a very qualified, competent teacher, I mean, in English language, was in the university. She made everything so attractive to us. Unfortunately, in our primary school, secondary school today, many of which are private, you find that teachers are employed who just stumble on the profession accidentally. Some of them see it as the last resort. After they've searched for jobs, many places, they do not
Without
find
understanding the
something.
psychology
They don't understand the
of teaching.
psychology of teaching. They don't understand how to come down to the level of the child, how to attend to the uniqueness of a child, develop the child's unique interest, come to the child's level. And at the end of the day, you see, many teachers at times erode the self-esteem of the child, which is key. You see, even if you give a child education and he lacks self-esteem, he would not even be able to value that education he has.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he would trade it for something else.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here is that the teachers need to pay more attention. And they need to be competent in our schools. We should ensure that the teachers are qualified, competent, understand, they are properly trained. I give you an example. Many years ago when I was in secondary school, there was a young man they brought to teach us. I mean, he was just to be tested. And I think he saw it as a last resort. He had probably looked for a job, and when he came, he wanted to teach, not even literature. Now, he was even teaching Agric. It was just a similar experience. He came to teach Agric. And by the time he was done teaching Agric, we had to ask him questions. I did not even ask him any question, but there was one mischievous fellow who had observed that this guy had just been going through the textbook and reading from the textbook to us. So he asked him, since you taught on leguminous crops, sir, how do you identify a leguminous crop? The guy looked at it and said, well, when you see a leguminous crop, you will know. That's where the problem came. So the guy continued. If you say, I will know, how, sir?
How do I know?
How do I know? When I don't what I don't know. I came to class for you to teach me, to let me know. But you're not telling me what exactly I need to know. So teachers need to come to a point where they can take people from unknown and from the known to the unknown. It's a procedure, and they need to understand the process.
Kibayo, you want to add?
Yeah, it's sad and it's appalling. The honest truth is that if you take the Nigerian teachers today, out of the 100%, about 10% are actually teachers. Some, the other ones stumbled on teaching, meaning that they didn't venture to teaching, but because there is no other job available. Then they are there. It was a last resort. So there is no commitment. One thing is to be qualified. And one thing is to be committed. You know, when we are coming to this place now, you love journalism, you love broadcasting, you know. All your problems, by the time you get to that door, you dropped. You come in here, you deliver. Because I remember in primary school, the teacher would bring what is it called? This leguminous crop just mentioned, melon.
Yes. Melon, yeah.
And
Give students.
yes, and we'll break. Or we're asked to sleep. Now, a committed teacher will engage the pupils in something better,
creative,
something
yes.
creative,
Yeah.
not sleeping or breaking the melon, you understand? So that teacher is, they think of the salary, they think of the rent is coming to due, they think of many things. So there is no commitment.
So we have teachers who are only working for survival.
Yeah, for survival, not
passion.
exact. No, there's no passion
There's
for
no
it.
passion. They don't even have a sense of calling.
Okay, but do we now go down to where they were trained? Because I know that there's always a sector in the university where they say education. Education,
Continuous
faculty
education,
does
yeah.
everything. You have accounting education, you have English education,
Yeah.
right? And those are people who are supposed to go into the classroom.
Yeah.
And it looks like a couple of them are not even trained. Probably they wanted medicine or geography, and then because he didn't meet up the cutoff,
They stumbled on the course.
again.
No, they cause trouble on them.
Okay, so the question is, who do we blame now? If I say I wrote JAM and I want to study mass communication, and I get to a particular university, they tell me, okay, why did you score maybe 220? No, we need 290. And because I need to go to school, there's pressure. I told them, you must go to school. They say, okay, go and do guidance and counseling. Or they just give you, go and study English education. You're like, at least I've gotten to school. Do you not think that's where the problem is? Or do we go back to the foundation of that particular adult?
Well, we can see it in different lights.
Okay.
First, let me say this, that as a teacher or someone who really wants to teach, if you go to school and you're given a course, most times, I think most teachers get their course. Unlike when you come to, where I schooled in Futa, there are a lot of people who, they come into school, they apply for CSC, that's computer science, and they're given CSP, crop, soil, and pest.
Okay.
It's like a dilemma, you know. But for those who are given education courses, there are two things. It's either you are going to pursue it, and that's something undergraduates should understand. If you're given a course that you do not really like, you must make a decision. It's either you're going to pursue that line and stay true to it and believe that something positive can come out of it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you might decide to continue along that line, but start studying. Train yourself. There's such a thing as self-education.
Yeah.
Oh, I studied electrical electronics engineering, but today I'm into writing, I'm into leadership development. Now, I tell people I'm not just an electrical electronics engineer, I'm a human engineer. What that means to me is that I'm able to transform minds that cater for machines. So what I'm saying is, if you are not given the course that you actually want to study, go ahead, educate yourself. Take volunteer roles, internship roles. This helps you to gather the necessary skills, the necessary experience, the necessary attitude, the necessary ethics for that particular profession. Eventually, you can get to a point where you take professional courses, and that helps you, that builds you. My younger brother wanted to study medicine. Eventually, he was given chemical education. And I'm saying this is a testimony to what I'm saying. He was given chemical education. He went through school, studied chemical education. Guess what? Because he believed that something positive could come out of that, he started teaching. He took it very seriously. He taught his classmates. He taught people. He organized tutorial classes for them. Before you know it, by the time he came out of school, he's already doing well. He's running the second biggest tutorial center in the whole of Ife. So it's something that we can actually make decision on. It's either we decide to continue along that line, or we self-educate ourselves.
Okay, I'm glad that you're just someone who broke the Guinness record, book record,
World
Guinness
record.
World record. Okay, I'm happy that you are here, and I know a lot of you are watching. I'm not against wealth and affluence. I like it, but I also believe that wealth and affluence comes with hard work.
Yeah.
And so I'm not just hard work where I'm working hard because of a particular wealth. I'm actually working hard because I want to influence my space, and then I think the reward that comes with it is the wealth that comes with it. Now for you, did you deliberately go to the library to break Guinness Book of Records or you went to the library to read to break Guinness Book of Records, or there was a mission? Because I know youth these days follow people who are happening. and they don't want to know the price that was paid. As long as you've hit it big, I need you to clear this. What exactly moved you to the library and then eventually led you to win?
Well, two things. Two things moved to the library.
Okay.
Number one, like I am here now, talking about reading, right? If I had not done what I did, I would not be here. Okay. So I was looking for a platform to promote reading, and looking at who I was then, nobody would listen to me. So I needed a platform. However, just like we were discussing behind the scene, that it is what is if what is best is not available, then the available becomes the best. We are all complaining in this country. People are looking for fast money. We are looking for fame, and we are not doing anything about it. So I took this on myself. I am going to promote reading. So what do I need to make the name? So that when I speak, people will listen to me. I said, okay, I was going to attempt a Guinness World Record. Even though I didn't know how to go through that feat, but I made up my mind. And another thing that pushed me in, I would say pushed me into this, was that I looked at that book. There are only 3 Nigerians in that book. Out of 203 million people, only three people were in that book, and that for me is appalling, you know. And that tells me that Africans, what we most pursue is survival. We don't actually seek greatness. The question is, when you die, what will you be remembered for? So, and I remember when I was in primary school, we were like 10 in a room. My father, my mother, my sisters, my brother, nephew, cousin, 10 in a single room, sleeping on the mats. After school, I hawked fufu to my neighborhood, my classmates. But something always ring in my mind. I am going to be great. I am going to be great. The world must know, not will, the world must know about me. So that thing kept pushing me, and it pushed me to that point. Let me give you a secret. Well, it's not a secret, because when I applied for the record, and I needed some money to organize that particular event, about 10 million, 15 million naira. I didn't have the money. I approached many companies for sponsorship, and I was turned down. You know, no, we can't sponsor this. It's not sport. It's not entertainment. So I discovered that our companies are hypocrites. We are talking of education. We are not reading again. Yet, I'm not putting your money where your mouth is. But when it is about dancing, you know, you put billions of naira to promote it. Anyway, I didn't relent. Even though I was discouraged, I didn't relent. So I met a lady who, I saw a library at Yaba, beautiful. I said, wow, this one, yes, exists. And I approached the library, so I need to talk to the Lagos government or the bank that refurbished that particular library. And I was looking for who to talk to. God have his way. I met a lady working in the bank. She introduced me to the bank, and the bank was like, wow, fantastic. We're going to support you. And they asked me, sir, how long have you read? I told them I read 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours daily, and they said, no. You need to show us that you can do what you want to do, because we're a big, proud brand, and we can't afford you to mess up our name. Even though they forget that we are saying it's an attempt, because I was not actually out to break the record. What I was out to do was that in the course of the reading, you understand, reading can become popular. So it was what I am doing that I am after, not the aftermath, breaking. No. In fact, I didn't even attempt to become famous, to be known. No. I want to be said that when they ask what is it, they will say it is reading. And the news can go, somebody is reading, somebody wants to kill himself by reading, you know, and it will catch fire like that. And they said, no, we need to know that you can do it. I said, I can't do it. So they said that I should go for a trial run. That means practice. So, and I Googled how not to sleep for a long hour. And the result I came was telling me that if you don't sleep for a long hour, you may die. You may lose your senses. You may lose your memory. And I said, okay. well, I'm already in this. I have to go forward. So I went through the trial run. I read for 96 hours straight. In those 4 days, those were the worst days of my life because my head was heavy. It was heavy, yet it was light. I was hallucinating. At the point in time, I fell. I had sore on my tongue. My tongue was bleeding. And in the course of this, I must not stop reading. Do you understand? So there and then, after the 4 days, I became born again. Okay, guy, are you sure you want to continue on this path? Are you going to do the real thing? Because what I went through were things I cannot avoid. I must still go through them doing the real thing. And I was like, are you saying that I will go through this again? But after the 4th day, my son came to check me when I was reading. My wife brought my children, and my first son, who was the reader, said, Dad, I said, yes, son. I said, when are you going to do the real thing? I didn't answer, but I said that if I don't do this now, I give up now, how will I be able to motivate him to go all the way? I had no choice. While my sponsors were jubilating, I was sad because I was like a lamb that is being led to the slaughter's slab. Well, here we are today. Was it easy?
It wasn't
No.
easy.
It wasn't easy.
But
It
you
was
read-
a suicide mission.
You read over
was a suicide mission.
113 hours,
123 hours.
23 hours, at those particular, that's like 5 days and counting, 5 days, 3 hours
Yeah.
or so.
Yeah.
In that time, you were just secluded, you were just reading. Were you eating? How was it really?
Okay, I was not secluded
Okay,
because there were audience
okay,
in the room. In fact, the essay to the governor on education was there.
okay.
The PS on library was there. UN was there. AU was there. Primary school students, pupils around that neighborhood from Lekki, from VI, they came to watch me read. Unilag students, Yabatech students, they all came to watch me read because we had what we call supervisors, observers, that when I started reading, they must write it down. When I stopped reading, they must write it down. When I continued again, they must write it down. So all those documents were what we gave to GWR to actually prove if. So people were
reading
there.
aloud.
Yeah, aloud.
You're not just reading to yourself,
No,
you're
no.
reading out.
How many books were you able to finish?
I read 27 books.
No.
Yeah, I read about 4 books twice. Do you understand? At the point in time, I couldn't see again. In fact, the books I brought to read were useless because they were small print. So, and I couldn't see them again. So I had to take a break, go into the library, look for big print, which were very scarce. So, the truth is that about the last 24 hours of my reading, I couldn't see anything again. The letters were like, when you are scrolling documents, the letters were dancing. So I had to be tracing the letters with my fingers, and I had to be tracing. I was like,
reading Braille.
yes, and I must not stop reading. You understand? So, but funny enough, that was when I was actually enjoying the reading. My fingers were engaged, my mind was engaged, my eye, even though my eye was useless, but the end was was fun for me, even though I didn't even know what was going to happen.
Okay.
I didn't even know what was even happening outside. My wife would come and say, honey, you know what's happening outside? What's happening outside? You have created problem. People are shouting, screaming that this boy is the president of Nigeria. I was like, what are you talking about,
All right, let's move on now. I will direct this question to you, Bright. It says some people can read but cannot write. What do you think about those persons? And while you answer that, tell us and take us through your own journey and how you started writing.
Okay, for me, writing was something that came later in life. What I developed first and foremost was my speaking ability. I started speaking, publicly. The first time I had a public, a sermon, I delivered a sermon at the age of 11. So I've been developing my speaking ability, and because I really loved to teach, I really love to impart knowledge. Anywhere I see ignorance, I just want to deliver people from it. So that was what informed my speaking. That was what informed my teaching. And then that later informed my writing. But before I ventured into writing, I had to start reading. I noticed it was the passion for reading that now translated into my writing ability. So I started reading. Some of the first books I read were, apart from the Bible, I've always been passionate about reading the Bible. Like, I read the Bible a lot, up to tomorrow. And so I read Think Big by Ben Carson. I read Robert Schuller, Tough Times Never Last, but Tough People Do. In fact, when I became deliberate about reading books that I myself buy, that was 2010 thereabouts. I started reading from John Maxwell. In fact, leadership books, Talent is Never Enough, Leadership Gold, Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. So I started reading John Maxwell. I fell in love with his books. And so whenever I write similarly to, I'm similar to the people who I actually read after. I read a lot of Christian literatures. People like A.W. Tozer, Charles Spurgeon, and then I read motivationals,